Let's go to the phone lines and welcome in Brett Goode, former Arkansas Razorback, former Green Bay Packer. Brett, I want you to take us back to your recruiting days when you had Arkansas coaches and other coaches recruiting you. What do you remember about it, and who specifically recruited you to the University of Arkansas?
It was James Seabest. He was the wide receiver, special teams coach, and they just started once Otis Kirk put an article out, they started kind of recruiting, and they started coming more and more. The letters started coming, and other teams started coming along, not in the SEC, but kind of throughout. I had a scholarship offer from Northwestern, but once Arkansas had the offer out there to walk on, it was a no-brainer for me.
By the way, Aaron Outley of Parkview tied in. It's just in his last national letter of intent as of like 2 or 3 minutes ago. Brett, you bring up something important that I don't think gets mentioned enough. With any state, there you mentioned Otis Kirk. We're going to have Richard Davenport coming on, Danny West, Nikki Chavanel, Dudley Dawson. If I'm forgetting someone that does recruiting, I apologize. But it's important for you to develop relationships with them early on so they write articles about you, put videos about you, put interviews about you. Just from your perspective, how important is it for you to build relationships with these recruiting writers within states for these kids that are trying to play college ball?
I think it's huge, and it's not only for where you're going to go, but like once you're in college, these guys are still writing, and you want them to write nice articles. And if you happen to have a bad game, they don't write as bad of an article, if they have a relationship with you and they realize that you're just a normal person. But if you start snubbing them and start being mean to all these guys, they end up writing a lot of bad stuff. And it's not their fault. I'm not saying they're bad people, but I'm saying that's the same way through the NFL. That's what writers do. That's their job. So most of the time when somebody's writing an article, they've already got the article written, and then they come to you and then they're looking for some bits to put in the article. And if you're giving them good stuff, then they come back and they keep writing. And then the more that you can kind of stay out there and in a positive manner, the more people tend to like you. And I think the more successful that you end up being, because it makes things easier with the media.
You talk a lot in our chats here on Wednesdays about if you want to get on an NFL roster, if you want to make a 53-man roster coming out of college, learn and develop your craft on a special team. How true is that coming out of high school to get that offer, to catch a college coach's eye, maybe at a higher level than maybe your position will merit, is what you do on high school special teams, embracing that, whether it be a specialist like you were as a deep snapper, maybe being a kicker, maybe being a holder. I know a lot of quarterbacks do that. How important is that to a college coach? Because I would think it would hold true just like it does at the NFL for the college coach, to say, hey, this is a guy that can, step right in and maybe play a role in our special teams.
It does, especially for walk-on guys. The guys that they are kind of on the bubble, that they're sitting there, or guys they're not quite sure, where they're going to fit on the offense, defense. They're just kind of listed as an athlete. But if you go through and you look at high school starters that are like really big studs are getting recruited. They're not playing special teams. But then they get to the SEC or the ACC, wherever they're playing in college, and then they're required to play their special teams, and it's a transition period for them. And then they usually are able to, once they get that starting position, then they kind of move on, and they don't do it at certain schools. But if you look like at Alabama, they have studs playing on special teams because they understand how important it is. It's still, you can try and take it out of the game, but it's still a third of the game. And there's so many important things that these guys coming in from high school that they can be like, this is my way to get in. I can go cover a kickoff because I know I'm going to run as hard as I can down there. I'm going to stay, have lane integrity, stay in my lane. And if I don't make the tackle, I want to give it to my buddy over there because I've made the guy move over. So it's a huge part of the game. And I think these guys that are doing it on special teams in high school, it opens some eyes and opens some doors for these college coaches.
All right, Brett Goode with us here on the Morning Rush. He played special teams for 10 years with the Green Bay Packers, long snapper with the Razorbacks. He breaks down special teams with us every Wednesday here on the Morning Rush. It's brought to you by Henderson Phillips Employer Solutions. All right, let's rip off the Band-Aid, pick at the scab one last time. Every week we have to, break down something that happens in special teams with Arkansas, and it was a punt return that got loose and went to the house. DeVonta Smith, what did you see on that play early in the game that gave Alabama their first touchdown?
Well, there was nobody in front of him. I mean, that was one of the easiest punt return for a touchdown I think I've ever seen. You know, it was kind of like what I just said on kickoff covers, lane integrity. We had so many guys. I think we had 5 guys on the right side all stacked up behind each other. You know, you're taught to never run behind your teammate. And we had 5 guys sitting there, you know, right behind each other, front and back with their blockers there, and there's nothing you can do. You've got to spread the field, and you've got to contain this guy. That's honestly, that's a week 1 mistake. That's not the last game of the season. So that's unfortunate for the Hogs because it gave them a big momentum boost, and you can't ever give Alabama a momentum boost as good as they are. You know, you've got to have, you know, a perfect game to beat them, especially when you're coming off the last couple of years that we've had. So I was really disappointed to see that because those are very easy. You know, if he makes a bunch of guys miss and scores, that's one thing. But to just sit there and run untouched all the way down, it's very disappointing to see.
Brett, if you're pitching a kid high school, if you're a coach up on the hill, what are you pitching to a prospective high school student that's looking to go play football at the University of Arkansas?
I think that you're pitching the change, you know, the culture, the vibes of, you know, you've seen what happened this year. Nobody picked us to win any games in the SEC for the most part. And then all of a sudden we win 3 and the culture around the whole, everything is just coming back and everybody's excited. And I think you pitch that, hey, you can be a part of something special. You know, we're building something. We're going to be here for the long term. And I think as a player and a fan, you can see that the players wanting to play, the coaching staff enjoying the moment, and I think that's a big time deal because recruiting right now, it's so hard to imagine how everything has gone down with this COVID, not being able to do home visits. You know, they didn't have any camps during the summer for all these kids. You know, especially the kind of on the edge walk on. So, you know, you basically got to pitch on the phone and build that relationship that you're going to be their parent away from home. Like once you come to college campus. You know, that coaching staff is like their dad. Like you're going to take care of them and protect them, and you've got to sell it. And so it's a hard job, but I look forward to seeing everybody that we've gotten and seeing how good we are.
Brett, you mentioned kind of the change with FaceTiming and stuff this year being a COVID year. Go back to your recruiting. You mentioned your special teams and the wide receivers coach Shebas. Go back to your recruiting, compare it to now from what you've heard, what you've seen. And I know it's a little different this year because of COVID, but how much has recruiting changed back when you were at Northside High School compared to when you are just seeing it unfold in front of your eyes today?
So when I was at Northside, I had a in-school visit with a coach. Then Coach Nutt came down to my house in Fort Smith there, and it was just my mom made some dessert and we ate and talked and they're not doing any of that stuff. They're not getting those little moments that they're special to a high school kid. Especially for me it was magical because it was the Hogs. I had a love for the Hogs. Because that's where I always wanted to go. When that opportunity came up, it was a no-brainer, like I said earlier. So it meant more to me, and that's it does that to a lot of kids because you've now come in that moment that it's reality. Usually you're talking on the phone, you get letters, you're like, okay, I don't know if it's real. And then all of a sudden when that coach is there present in your house, you're like, okay, this is real. Like they really do care about me, and you can really interact with them. So doing it on FaceTime, it's easy. I know a lot of kids now, text message, is the big thing, but you still build that relationship when you're face to face to somebody, whether it be, for a football program or in business. It just works better when you're face to face.
Brett Goode with us here on the Morning Rush. Team's kind of in limbo for a few days. Regular season's over. The timing is so unusual this year with the later end of the regular season. You won't find out about a bowl game till Sunday. They're going to practice couple times here at the end of the week. What's it like being in this situation? It's so unprecedented. I don't even know if you can answer that question. Preparing for a game that you don't know if and when it's going to happen and not even knowing who the opponent's going to be right now.
I don't know that I can explain that because it's really hard. It's, one of the hardest things when you're practicing and playing games is when you're losing. And then you got to go out there and now you're practicing for what? There's not a game. Especially the seniors, and I think there's a lot of seniors that want to play in a bowl game, but they don't know who they're practicing for, who they're preparing for, and you have some time. So it takes a special person to be able to go out there and practice and do what's right, and that's what You want your coaching staff to really just make it fun. Get out there and it's not like a training camp practice. You're not going out there and just, killing each other. You're going out there and you're making it fun for each other and just trying to be lively. And then, hopefully you can get some news later in the week of a bowl game and, start making preparations for that.
We got a text in here from Austin in Ozark, wants to know what it takes to be a 5-star long snapper. I don't know if they give stars to snappers, but I know there's a lot of these camps, specialist camps. That's where a lot of these guys get identified, isn't anymore, whether it's kickers, snappers, is a lot of these specialist camps. Isn't that correct, where a lot of these colleges and NFL teams even are identifying potential snappers and kickers?
You're absolutely right, and they have all these camps across the country that are big. When I was coming through, they didn't have them. It was kind of towards the end of college that they started kind of getting bigger. And then as I was in the NFL, they even have some stuff where I know a lot of NFL special teams coaches, they go to these camps to see these specialists. They see the snappers and punters and kickers particularly. So to get a 5-star, honestly, it's just going to be like any other position. You're going to, but you've got to have good numbers with your snap times, your accuracy. And if you're really going to get up there in 5-star rating, you're probably going to have to make a lot of tackles. I don't know how they rate the snappers on that scale. But it's a lot of accuracy. I know that a lot of guys that have made, tackles over the years are former linebackers. The guy that did it for the Giants for a long time, won 2 Super Bowls. He played linebacker in college and snapped, and that was his deal that he did in the NFL. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's all how, everybody's route is different.
Brett, I want to ask you an NFL question and a food question before we let you go. The Green Bay Packers take over the number 1 slot in the NFC with the Saints falling to the Philadelphia Eagles last week. If you're looking ahead to the NFC Championship and say the Packers are there, would you rather play Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, or would you rather play Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks?
Where are we playing? Are we playing at home or are we playing on the road?
You get them in Lambeau.
If you're playing in Lambeau, you're obviously the first answer is going to be the Saints. There's actually a number of, for dome teams, there's a percentage of how they do outside in the winter. So obviously I think Green Bay has an advantage over that. Russell Wilson, I've been beat by them, in the playoffs and the NFC Championship games. So I don't know that I'd want to play them again. For Aaron, I think he's played 4. I played in 3 NFC Championship games, so he's played in 4. And they've all been on the road, and so none of them have been at home. So I think it'd be magical if you could get a game at home in Green Bay for the NFC Championship game, because it just makes things tougher when you have to go to Lambeau. In the winter and you get cold weather. I was laughing the other day. It snowed up here, and everybody was like, "Well, it's miserable," and I'm like, "Well, this is nothing. This is fine. Like I'm walking around in a short sleeve T-shirt at 30 degrees because it's okay." So, Lambeau, you're going to have, 10 degrees. You're going to have negative degrees, so you don't know. And those quarterbacks that aren't used to it and they don't get to practice in it, it really hurts them. Yeah.
I heard Keyshawn Johnson earlier this morning talking about if he was a Packer, he would give up home field advantage to not have to play in -8. He said he remembered playing up there in a game that it was -8, and he said he didn't even go out to warm up. He walked outside. It was that cold. He went back in. He just said he's unbearable.
And there's a lot of people that do that because it just is miserable. And I think when the Giants came through in 2007 and they had that game-winning kick, field goal to walk off, they said his foot had a bruise for like a month from the hard football that he kicked.
Jeez.
So, it's real, and there's a lot of people that don't want to warm up, and they're like, man, I don't know why you want to do this because it's just miserable.
I don't, Brett, as we let you go here, I don't envy Mason Crosby's job whatsoever when it gets colder and colder up there in Green Bay. Brett Goode, former Razorback, former Green Bay Packer. Brett, we really appreciate your time, and tell us about what's going on at Henderson Phillips Solutions.
Well, this time of year is, getting closer to Christmas, so we're actually selling a lot of life insurance. It's the best gift that you can give to your friends and family. So we're doing that. We're doing employee benefits. We got one wrapping up today, so we can handle all your insurance needs. So just give me a call, and we'll take care of you.
Yeah, anything commercial or personal insurance, any employee benefits, health insurance for your company, staffing, management solutions, Brett can handle that. 479-651-2292 is Brett's personal cell phone number, so you can text or call him directly. That's 651-2292. It's National Chocolate Covered Day, Brett. What is your favorite chocolate covered food?
I don't eat a whole lot of chocolate, but I do like some ice cream with some little chocolate on it. Just simple. I'm very simple with that.
Simple man. Brett, we appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk next week, okay?
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.